that history's ever created. I'm not committed to nonviolence in any way.
Hell nah.
Man or woman who hates communism the most, that is to say, the man or woman who knows the least about communism, is the man or woman who wants to know the least about communism. That is to say, snakes are my enemies. They come to bite me, and I don't even want to know what they look like.
We're going to see about stopping, regardless of what these people think we should do. Because school is not important, and work is not important. Nothing's more important than stopping fascism, because fascism will stop us all.
Yo. Welcome to the Forest Pod, the Forest Podcast, your place where I forgot what we say for the intro. And sometimes we fuck up the intro because Pretty Bad did such a good one last week. You want to just go ahead, run it back. You remember off the top of your head? What was the intro?
No, I don't. But welcome to the Forest Pod, where we talk about geopolitics, culture, technology, identity, and everything in between.
But do we do it zoomed in or do we do it zoomed out?
We do it zoomed out because it's the Forest Pod.
See the forest for the trees, guys. That's the whole point.
Yes.
Now you get why it's called that. This is not an ecological podcast, but we are pro environment.
Sure it is.
I mean, it can be.
Yeah. it's all of that. We zoomed out.
Oh yeah. We got to consider that too. That's true.
No doubt.
What's good with you? This is Comrade Villa. I'm here with Pretty Bad. Comrade, what's going on, Pretty Bad?
Not much, man. You know, just watching the world
spin.
Yeah.
Not burn.
It's burning.
I know today we're gonna talk about Venezuela. We've been putting it off. We're finally gonna fucking do it. I feel like we're gonna do them justice. We finally put in a little bit more effort than our normal podcast. But before we jump in, because it's going to be a long episode, we should probably jump in soon. Is there anything you want to talk about in the news? I got one thing I want to talk about in the news. I'll let you go first.
Let me think. No.
Okay. I got Bolsonaro.
Okay.
So you heard about what happened with him?
No.
Okay. Remind everybody who Bolsonaro is.
Bolsonaro is a right-wing president who was president of Brazil.
Brazil.
Before Lula won the last election. But yes, he was, Lula went to prison under this fraudulent speculation or fraudulent accusations of him being in some, what they call car wash, some sort of government corruption.
Like money laundering. That's what it's called, car wash, yeah.
Right. But it turns out that was like that was lawfare. They were basically conspiring to imprison him. So he couldn't run for president because he was going to run again and would have won.
Did you call it lawfare? Like warfare with the law?
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. My bad. Go ahead. Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a real term. Or people use it anyway.
That's a real term.
But anyway, so he went to jail, Lula did. And then after that, Bolsonaro was elected. But yeah, he's a right-wing guy. They call him Trump of the Tropics is one of his
I like that.
nicknames.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
So he's under house arrest right now. And he's facing charges. Did you know that?
Yeah, because he tried to orchestrate a coup.
He did it January 6th.
Right.
Trying to say that the election results, blah, 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 fraudulent, come out and help me take power. And Brazil apparently is a more civilized country than we are. Don't use the word civilized. Is a more advanced country than we are because they're actually prosecuting him for doing that, whereas we just let Trump be president again. But so here's what happened, Bolsonaro. He's on house arrest. His house, turns out, is like, I was watching a clip from Rachel Maddow, which, but she had a Google map from Bolsonaro's house to the U.S. Embassy was 13 minutes. So he lives close to the U.S. Embassy. His son was like, hey, guys, come out to my house tonight. This was on last Friday, I believe. His son was like, hey, come out. We're going to protest at the house tonight, that's kind of weird, but whatever. That same night, Bolsonaro tried to cut his ankle monitor off.
Oh, wait, I did see somebody.
Did you see this?
Well, I saw somebody posted a picture of his ankle monitor, and I didn't look into it.
He tried to cut it with a soldering iron.
Okay.
And failed. I don't know what the fuck they make their ankle bracelet or ankle monitors out of. He could not get that shit off. But what's not so interesting. Anyways, they called him he's in jail now because can't be trusted at this point, obviously. What was funny was the day after, so it happened Friday night and he got arrested. Saturday morning, Trump was, I think this is like on a tarmac somewhere. Have you seen Trump wearing I think this is him wearing the little ascot.
Yeah, he jacking Mom Donnie's swag, man. He biting.
He's biting some swag, bro. Anyways, they're asking him about Bolsonaro, and he has not heard the news yet that he's been arrested. So this is his answer. Just listen to this shit real quick. This is funny as fuck.
Do you have any comment about Bolsonaro's arrest? A former Brazilian president.
So I spoke last night to the gentleman you just referred to, and we're going to be meeting, I believe, in the very near future.
Sir, are you willing about the president being arrested today? What? Any comment about the former Brazilian president being arrested today?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Are you willing to hurt Mr. President, are you willing?
I didn't hear. Is that what happened?
Yes, there's a citation.
That's too bad.
This fucking guy, bro. Hey, did you hear about Bolsonaro getting arrested? Bolsonaro, yeah, I just talked to him last night. We're about to meet up. No, did you hear he got arrested? Wait, what?
The way he said what, it was so funny.
Wait, what happened? Oh my God, what a joke of a president. But it seems like Bolsonaro had an escape plan to get to the U.S. Embassy, and then I guess I doubt Trump was going to go there. We were going to get him over here. But yeah, that almost happened. Pretty wild, huh?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that was his plan. I guess he thought like if he got there, like the U.S. would
1,000% we would. What are you talking about?
Probably, yeah.
Like you said, he's the Trump of the tropics.
I think that's where, and we're going to get into this obviously, but I think that's where Machado's at. I think she's in a U.S. embassy in Venezuela. But
really?
I think so.
Pulling the old Julian Assange.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fuck it. Before we get into Venezuela, any last words before we try to dive in here?
No. We should probably go ahead and get into it because it's gonna probably be long.
All right. So where do we start? Let's start with this quote by Eduardo Galeano. You know who that is?
Yes.
Are you gonna tell us?
Yeah, he wrote a very famous book called Open Veins. I haven't read it.
Open Veins of Latin America.
Yeah. Actually, I started it. I have the audio book. It's a long book.
Oh, yeah.
I think I maybe got, I don't know,
I mean, I saw
3
the
or 4
picture
hours on.
that you showed me of him giving it to Obama. It looked like a pretty big book.
Yeah.
But let's start with this quote from that book. He's a Uruguayan historian. The division of labor among nations is that some specialize in winning and others in losing. Our part of the world, known today as Latin America, was precocious. It has specialized in losing ever since those remote times when Renaissance Europe ventured across the ocean and buried their teeth in the throats of Indian civilizations. Snap, 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 snap. That's a dope ass quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially saying, look, man, Latin America has been plagued by these European countries coming over here and exploiting Indian civilization, which is native civilizations. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with Simón Bolívar.
And sorry, fun anecdote. We were just talking about this before we started recording, that Hugo Chávez tried to give Obama that book whenever they first, I think it was when they first met, or one of the first times they met.
Obama didn't take it?
I don't know. I'm sure he didn't keep it.
I mean, the look on his face was like, almost like it was diseased.
Right.
Yeah. And here we go. Here's a quote by Simón Bolívar. The United States appears to be destined by Providence to plague America with misery in the name of liberty. What do you think that quote means?
I don't know.
I feel like the second half kind of is obvious. Like, yeah, America's going to come down here and say, we're trying to bring you liberty while they exploit us.
Yeah.
But destined by Providence, it almost feels it's like
It's like manifest
Yeah,
destiny.
like that's like this is going to happen.
Right.
Like maybe I don't really understand the definition of providence, but maybe he was just saying that look, these are the biggest empires of the world.
Right.
The United States is, they're a big player now.
This is the Brits little bastard child.
Yeah. We've been dealing with the French and the Spanish, but these fucking Brits ruin the world. All right. So Simon Bolivar. Bolivar's revolutionary moment emerged from the collapse of Spanish authority after Napoleon invaded Spain in 1808, creating a power vacuum that allowed independence movements across Latin America to assert autonomy. Napoleon, this little fucker, took over Portugal, which had colonized Brazil, so he had to manage that. Took over Spain and had a French president of Spain that was managing Mexico. Napoleon was just, he caused all kinds of little chaos.
Sure.
Haiti, though, which was occupied by the French, and then Napoleon kind of led to his downfall. At least Haiti did to a little bit. Haiti played a decisive role in Bolivar's success, offering sanctuary, weapons, printing presses, political backing, and soldiers. Haiti's only condition was that Bolivar abolished slavery in the liberated territories. And Bolivar honored this commitment by issuing emancipation decrees across the regions that he freed. And then I kind of skipped over this, but in Latin America, there was like a mix of cultures. You had Creole, French people from America. You had what were they called? The Spanish Peninsulares, Spanish-born elites. In Venezuela specifically, you had the Creoles, I guess was more like on the coast, and then the Peninsulares more in the country and the inside of the country. They were kind of fighting each other. The Spanish-born people. Anyways, Bolivar kind of got around, and there was a bunch of other classes and cultures, but anyways, Bolivar united everyone that was born in Latin America as like, hey, one thing we all have in common is we're from here. We're not European.
Right.
So that's kind of, whenever we go in later, talk about Chavez calls it shit a Bolivarian Revolution. That's what it means, is like, hey, we're the indigenous people and we're kicking out the invaders.
Right.
But yeah, Haiti, they helped. Bolivar, he led historic victories at Boyaca and Carabobo.
Yeah, we're going to be butchering some names.
I'm going to try, though. And then his lieutenant, Sucre, won Pichincha and Ayacucho under Bolivar's strategic direction, annihilating Spanish power in South America. Fucking annihilated it. Like how ChatGPT used that word there.
Right.
The logistical brilliance of campaigns fought across mountains, jungles, plains, and rivers was often compared to Hannibal and his military feats. So people compared, so you've heard about Hannibal. So Simon Bolivar is essentially like a Hannibal of Latin America. Bolivar's dream of Gran Colombia, which is uniting Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Panama, was a defensive project against future colonial domination. So once he liberated these countries, the idea was to unite at least these four as a barrier to try to prevent colonialism from happening again. He warned repeatedly that fragmentation would leave Latin America vulnerable to emerging empires, especially the United States, like that quote was saying, whose ambitions he predicted with uncanny accuracy. Chavez's Bolivarian Revolution revived Bolivar's legacy, not just symbolically, but strategically, framing modern Venezuela's struggle as a continuation of a 200-year-long anti-imperialist project centered on sovereignty, integration, and resistance to external control. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, Chavez invoked this idea of, hey, Latin Americans need to own what is in Latin America as far as resources and manifest their own destiny.
Right.
But yeah, so that was the early ages. You go ahead and tell us about like pre-Chavez, like after that, but like pre-Chavez.
Yeah, so And, that's the backdrop, of South American history there. So I appreciate that. Which is, it's very important to understand, how South America became South America, and sort of extricated itself from Spanish colonialism.
Spanish and French.
Yes,
and Portuguese, but primarily Spanish.
Primarily Spanish. So we're gonna talk a little bit. We're gonna fast forward about 150 years or so, and talk about what led up to sort of Chavez taking power. So we're gonna start at probably roughly in the 1980s, 1920s. I forget how far this goes back. So let's say Venezuela discovered its major oil fields early in the 20th century, around the 1920s. It became one of the world's largest petroleum exporters, setting the stage for highly unequal oil-dependent economy. Political power during this period was dominated by alternating military strongmen and civilian elites who formed close alliances with U.S. oil companies and Western financial interests. From around 1958 onward, Venezuela developed a two-party system, the Acción Democrática and the COPEIA. I don't know if that's...
Copia.
Yeah, it's all capitalized. So
there was another one too that I saw. I think it was called the USD when I was doing some research. But those were the two main ones.
Right.
And that led to what you're about to talk about, this Punto Fijo agreement, which is kind of the situation we are here in America.
Right. So basically this Punto Fijo agreement, it was basically two parties that sort of swap power back and forth. They basically... It was a duopoly, more or less, and they pretty much agree we're going to be the two parties in power, and we'll sort of.
But we're not going to have a leftist party.
Right.
We're going to be a center left and a center right party.
Right.
Quote unquote center left, but yeah, we're going to have some stability by excluding the leftist.
Right, and there'll be some power sharing.
Yeah.
While Venezuela experienced periods of growth during the 1960s and 70s. Most oil profits flowed to elites and foreign corporations, producing what scholars called Saudi Venezuela, a wealthy urban center surrounded by deep structural poverty. In the 1980s, oil crash triggered a debt crisis that pushed Venezuela into IMF programs, which demanded privatization, subsidy cuts, and austerity measures that disproportionately harmed the poor. We've spoken a lot about IMF and structural adjustment programs on this show. So y'all know how that works if you listen to any other episodes.
If you don't, go back, listen to them all, and you'll figure it out.
In 1989, President Carlos Andres Perez implemented these IMF policies, sparking mass protests known as the El Caracazo. I butchered that.
No, that sounds right.
That's close. Where government forces killed hundreds, possibly thousands. Numbers are disputed. In one of the worst state massacres in modern Latin American history.
So, pausing on that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That word Caracazo, it comes from the city's name, Caracas. And is Caracas the capital?
Yes.
Okay. And then Azo, which stems from another historic event, the Bogotazo, which was a massive riot in Bogota, Colombia, recognized as having a crucial role in Colombia's history. So the Caracazo is technically defined as the Caracas smash, or the big one in Caracas, based on Spanish dialect. So anyways, there was a word for what they did. It started in Cororanas. Fuck. Never mind. I'll find it. But they had a specific tactic that they used of blocking the government by burning cars and whatnot.
The garimbas?
Yeah, the garimbas. But regardless, so this was a bunch of leftists, right, that were doing the protest?
I don't know if it was necessarily a bunch of leftists. People were upset.
You don't have to be a leftist to be upset with austerity.
Right, exactly.
Which is essentially just reminding everybody austerity is you cut government spending to try to fix like your deficit problems.
Right.
Which hurts the poorest
And
people
one of the
most.
things that sparked this protest is they had cut the subsidies for oil. So, gas prices went up. This caused the like bus fares and everything to go up, and people
right.
were upset about that. Now they're setting buses on fire and shit.
Right. So the country had a lot of oil, but was using government subsidies to keep oil cheap for the people. And oil producing countries like Saudi Arabia and, I don't know, U.S. fucking oil companies like Citgo and whatnot, they're like, we don't like that you're subsidizing the oil because it's harder for us to compete. So anyways.
Well, I mean,
wasn't that why it was part of the IMF's austerity policies as like a requirement?
Well, I mean, the IMF, they don't really care. They just want you to privatize everything and cut. I mean, what happened with, not Brazil, Venezuela was in debt because it had, taken out a bunch of loans whenever oil prices were high. So when it crashed, it couldn't repay this debt. It had trouble doing it. So this is why they cut those subsidies to try to.
So the 1980s oil crash, real quick, wasn't it partly caused by like OPEC?
Yeah, so it was caused by a lot of things, but yeah. I mean, OPEC. Saudi Arabia started producing more oil for sure.
The Iranian Revolution.
Right.
There was a global demand collapse apparently. Europe and Japan switched to nuclear, natural gas, and coal. Yeah, you're right. So there was a bunch of things that led to it.
Right. But basically, I mean,
so they took out a bunch of loans against the oil. The oil price collapsed.
Right. So when oil prices were high. And they were high throughout the 70s and early 80s because of the 73 Yom Kippur War and the 79 Iranian Revolution.
Right.
Right. This caused there was a shortage of oil because
Jimmy Carter was dealing with that here.
There was destabilization in West Asia, and of course to deal with this, Paul Volcker under Jimmy Carter raise the interest rates.
Mr. Volcker rule.
Whenever you raise those interest rates, so it makes it very difficult for these countries to pay back debt that they have in dollars.
Gotcha.
So
we talked about this too, like the petrodollar and okay.
Yeah. So Venezuela had a lot of debt in dollars, and all of a sudden it became a lot more expensive for them to pay that debt back. And whenever in the mid 80s, when Saudi Arabia started producing that oil, it crashed the commodity prices. So This is, why they got caught up.
Okay.
So anyway, El Caracazo shouted the legitimacy of Venezuela's old political system. It exposed deep resentment toward the neoliberal model that enriched elites while impoverishing working class communities. Witnessing this crisis, a young military officer named Hugo Chávez concluded that Venezuela needed a new political and economic direction, leading to his failed 1992 coup attempt and eventual rise to a national figure.
He tried to do a coup in 92.
Yeah, he tried to do a coup. And basically, like, the logic behind this coup was, like, he was part of, I forget the name of the organization, but it was called, like, the Bolivarian officers or something along those lines, right?
Like military organization.
Yeah.
But because they call it some Bolivarian, you already know what they're aligning with.
Well, yes, but I mean, one of the things that look, Bolivar was, he's an important historical figure, in Venezuela before Chavez. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, he's basically like one of the founding. He'd be like George Washington.
Yeah, he's the independence guy. Yeah.
So, they had this organization, and basically they believed in these Bolivarian principles. And one of the principles was like, you don't use the army against your own population. Right.
So the crackdown during El Caracazo really rubbed them the wrong way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is what sort of caused him to like sort of mobilize and attempt the coup.
Gotcha.
And he had a lot of support within the military ranks.
Gotcha.
But anyway, it wasn't successful.
And actually, I did remember, I don't know if this is in a clip later, but I remember either listening to or reading about how when the coup was not successful, he told his people to lay down their arms, but he said something like the struggle was not over, essentially.
Right.
But it kind of showed that like he he wasn't trying to do it by any means, but he was like, hey guys, we're going to let them resume control for now.
Right.
But we're still a unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Stay on the lookout.
Yeah. What did
Stay tuned?
No. What did Trump say to the Proud Boys? Stand by. Stand down and stand by or something like that. Yeah.
God. Anyway, by the mid 1990s, Venezuela faced collapsing living standards, soaring inflation, widespread corruption, and a political class unable to solve the crisis. So basically, after the coup, it was more of the same. And,
IMF austerity.
Yep. These conditions made the public receptive to revolutionary change, and this is where Hugo comes in.
Do they not pronounce the H? I can't remember. Is it just Hugo?
Yeah, it's more like Hugo.
Hugo
They
Chávez.
don't really pronounce the H. Yeah.
All right. So Hugo Chávez, he ended up running for president after the failed coup attempt. He's like, you know what? I got a lot of support. I'm just gonna run fair and square election. And he won in 1998 with 56% of the vote, vowing to rebuild the state through a new constitution, redirect oil wealth toward the poor. His campaign intentionally invoked Bolivar's anti-imperial legacy. The 1999 constitution, so 1 year after he becomes elected, became one of the two most progressive charters, expanding indigenous rights, guaranteeing universal health care, improving women's legal protections, enabling recall referendums, I guess for bad elections, and redefining, or I guess, no, recall referendum would just be you can vote again on somebody who's not doing what they said they would do. Right. And redefining Venezuela as the Bolivarian Republic. I love that. It's also institutionalized participatory democracy through communal councils. What does that mean? Institutionalized participatory democracy through communal councils, like Soviet councils?
No, not. I mean, they have like little communal, like neighborhood councils where they kind of vote on certain things. They actually just had an election or like one of those events, and I'm not exactly sure how it works, but basically, I think you're like a neighborhood. Will vote on like what do we want to use funds or like government funds for? Like they get
love that
neighborhood gets us allocated a certain amount of funds or whatever, and you can
see that's real
decide.
Democracy.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty neat.
All right. Chávez launched the Bolivarian missions, which were Robinson. So hold on, are these Spanish words?
No, I don't think that one is.
It can't be. Anyways, the Robinson one is for literacy. Right. Barrio Adentro, which is community medicine. Mercal, subsidized food. And Sucre, which is free university access. Sounds great. Funded directly by oil revenues previously monopolized by oligarchic elites. So this is part of the reason, like we'll see later, I think John Bolton, I think he mentions this, as to it's almost like the same thing with the Cubans. The private companies had invested in the oil in Venezuela at this point. Chávez was just like, no, you're not going to get your investment back.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here. This is for the people now. And Americans don't like that. That's not freedom to them. They got to be free to exploit you. Venezuela was declared illiteracy free by UNESCO in 2005. So fucking 6 years after he's elected president, you start redirecting some of these resources to poverty and to the people, and everyone can read. Sounds awesome. After Mission Robinson taught more than 1.5 million adults to read and write, an achievement.
Adults.
Yeah. These are people that had already given up on learning.
Right.
And
I don't know about giving up, but
I mean, if you're an adult and you can't read, you kind of be like, I got it.
I mean, well, look,
I've survived this long.
I don't.
I think I can just figure it out from here.
I don't like the word "giving up" because
it
pretends that they didn't want to learn in the first place. But
that's not true. That they didn't want to learn.
Right. Yeah. They, obviously they wanted to learn them, which is why when they had an opportunity to,
they did.
They did.
So yeah. Chávez also expanded the regional alliances with Cuba, Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, which is named after Bolivar, that challenged U.S. dominance in the hemisphere and laid the foundation for ALBA, Petrocaribe, and later CELAC. And damn, I had some shit about Alba and CELAC. I'll pull up. Do you know what those are? Do you remember what those are?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
We got a section for that.
All right. What's Petro Caribe? I don't remember that one.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay. So yeah, tell us about the 2002 coup.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about the coup a little bit because obviously Chavez, started making some moves, and there was a ruling class in Venezuela that had been there for decades, as we mentioned.
So he got power in 98. This is 2002.
All right. So,
and actually, I'm just going to read this Chomsky quote real quick.
Okay.
Which Chomsky should not have been talking to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just going to say that right now. I know he shouldn't have. I know whatever. He answers all his emails. I know I read the emails, at least the ones that were leaked. There wasn't anything nefarious. He was just talking about linguistics and geopolitics, which just seems like Chomsky loves to talk about that with everybody. You shouldn't have answered those emails. That's fucked up, Chomsky.
Apparently, he called him, and I didn't verify this, but he said he was a highly valued friend.
Oh, yeah, but I mean,
first of all, who says, "Oh, he's a highly"? Only Chomsky would say it like that.
Unless you're talking to somebody that donates a lot of money to the scientists, which is what Epstein did.
Oh, like literally valued?
Yes. Like I have to let this guy know that he's my good friend because I want his funding money for MIT or for, I don't know. Motherfucker, like Jeffrey Epstein, outside of running his pedo ring, was extremely wealthy. And he liked to think that he was really smart. That's why he had all these scientists come to his island. He threw like these scientific conferences on his island and shit. And like, rub shoulders with Bill Gates and all these fucking smart people. And the way, if you read the emails between him and Chomsky, you can tell like this fucking guy, he talks as if he has gotten a degree in linguistics, but like didn't. So like, I know enough about this, but I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about. And Chomsky's just like, let me explain to you real quick what you're talking about, why you're wrong. But he liked to think that he was a smart guy, have a lot of scientists around. So it's not nefarious in and of itself. But Chomsky should have been like, yo, that pedophile shit happened back in Florida back in like 05 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
Have a look.
All right. On April 11th, 2002, there was a coup. Bars. Like pretty bad comment I was saying, backed by those private and...
Wait, did you read the quote?
Wealthy interests. Did I not? Oh, my bad. I said all that. I didn't even read the quote. That's hilarious. All right. Fuck Chomsky. I still like him. He said a lot of dope shit, including this. The United States supports democracy if and only if it coincides with strategic and economic objectives. Like, that's like one of those sentences that he's just distilled perfectly down. Like, yeah. You wonder why... I don't know. When the U.S. says they're doing something for democracy in anywhere in the world, why there? Why not anywhere else in the world? Well, because it coincides with strategic and economic objectives.
No doubt.
So April 11th, 2002, this coup unfolded after private media networks broadcast fabricated footage falsely portraying Chavista supporters as firing at opposition protesters, which is what he had a problem with. In the first place, which is what caused him to have a coup, is that the government cracking down, shooting at protesters. So this is fabricated footage saying that his government is doing that. The media manufactured the violence narrative to justify the coup. Business leader Pedro Carmona declared himself president and immediately dissolved the National Assembly, Supreme Court, Attorney General's office, Constitution, all elected institutions. I guess we could have just said that. Proving the coup was a return to elite authoritarianism, not a defense of democracy. So again, they're saying this is in the name of democracy, which just means private oil companies should be able to exploit the oil in Venezuela. Excuse me. And this business leader declared himself president. Get the fuck out of here. The U.S. recognized the coup within hours. Surprise, surprise. Mirroring its involvement in Chile and Haiti. Chile 73, Haiti 91, 1991. Not 2091. The rapid recognition strongly suggested prior coordination or approval from Washington. So the fact that they did it so quickly shows that Washington was kind of ready for this, probably wasn't involved in this. A massive popular uprising, the largest in Venezuelan history, surrounded Miraflores Palace. Is that their White House?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure.
Loyal military units refused to obey the junta, that's a military coup, right? That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just what they call them, like military governments, essentially.
Oh, okay. Within 47 hours, Chavez was returned to power. Damn, that's a less than 2-day coup. Oof. By the people who had elected him. The coup plotting business elites openly begged for U.S. military intervention, revealing a deep class war beneath the political crisis. And now we have a clip. Do you want to set this clip up, or should I just play it?
Well, yeah, it's a clip from I forget the guy's name. I think it's Jorge Martin, I want to say.
Sure.
But basically, I think he's part of one of the communist parties that's based in Britain, I'm pretty sure. But this is like a speech he gave online, and I thought it was a pretty good historical account of what happened at the time.
All right, here we go.
As I said, there was a coup. The Spanish imperialism and U.S. imperialism participated in the coup. The day after, the editorials of El País in Spain, the New York Times, they said, democracy restored. The Chávez, the autocrat, is now been stopped. And this was a coup, right? The president, democratically elected president, was arrested, taken into a penal prison in an island of La Horquilla, and then a new government was sworn in a room like this in the presidential palace. A similar number of people, like in this room, they were all cheering for this guy, Pedro Carmona, who was the president of the Business Federation, who was now the new president that was going to restore democracy. And they were so confident that they had won. They all signed the attendance list. And you can see it is in that film. They were all cheering, and then this guy Pedro Carmona says, "And now we're gonna remove the Attorney General," and everyone's cheering, "Yeah!" "And now we're gonna remove the constitutional, yeah!" So confident they signed the attendance list. No, if you look at that attendance list, it was the who's who of the Venezuelan oligarchy, the Bishop of Caracazo, the owners of the main TV stations and newspapers, the owners of the land, the owners of the industries, everyone was there, you know. The leaders of the bureaucratic trade unions, the CTV, they were all there. They all signed on to this, and the military officers were behind that. And anyway, what is different in Venezuela is that in a space of 48 hours, the masses came out on the streets and defeated the coup. There was masses of people coming down from the barrios onto the presidential palace, and they were saying, no ha renunciado, lo tienen secuestrado. He's not resigned, they have kidnapped him. Because the story that was going on, they were showing cartoons on TV. They were keeping people in the dark, and they were saying Chávez has resigned because he has ordered the army to fire on the unarmed opposition demonstrations. People being killed, and he's resigned. And people saying, no, he's not resigned. We want to see. Where is he? He should tell us that he's resigned if he's resigned. And this is the president that we have put on. This is our president. We want him back, right? People gathered outside the 42nd Parachute Division in Maracay. And you have this situation, masses of people outside the military barracks. Finally, the army broke, and a whole section of the army went over to the people. This was made easier by the fact that Chávez was a military officer. So he had close contacts in the army high command, and some people were vacillating, some people under the pressure of the masses. But anyway, it was the masses that brought the president back. And you can see it in this film. It's very funny because these people, these bourgeois, are all in the presidential palace. And then after a while, they can see something's wrong. The presidential guards coming back, and then they all running. They're running like rats. They're scurrying away, and the people won a victory on the 13th of April.
Yeah, that was a great description of what actually happened.
Yep. And there's a documentary online, and it's on YouTube. It's free. It's called "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised," and it's It's about that moment,
specifically.
that event. Yeah, most of it focuses on that
Them
period.
playing cartoons on the TV. Is that why it's called that?
I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, that's the documentary he's referring to in the clip.
Gotcha. So I pulled up Jorge Martin, and he is a Spanish Grand Prix motorcycle racer.
That's not him. But thank you.
I know it's not fucking him. I tried Jorge Martin British. That didn't work either. Did you get anything?
No.
I don't know who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah, I mean, his name's in the comments in the description of the video. So
I know, but it doesn't say who he is. It just says Jorge Martin from this year's Revolution Festival.
Oh, I mean, he is who he is. What do you mean?
Okay, bro.
Does he have to have
I
on
need
my
credentials.
profile?
You can't fucking just say things like that. How do I believe you?
Yeah.
No, he sounded like he was there.
Yeah, he has an accent.
How would he know it was on the TV? But no, so that, I mean, the whole idea is wild. So the West tried to stage a coup, which is a thing that we do. And it's not so easy, Brent, just so you know. I know we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
But yeah, and it failed because the people were like, what the fuck? This is... I wonder how it's going to work now that we have AI and deep fakes, because I feel like this is definitely going to be part of our current situation in Venezuela. Maybe I'll talk about that later. All right. And then 2002, 2003, PDVSA lockout, economic sabotage. That's what we're about to talk about. PDVSA, that's the state.
Yeah, it's a state owned oil company.
Oil company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's been, just to be clear, because I didn't realize this, it was nationalized in the 70s. I think 1976.
So it wasn't Chavez.
Yeah. However, it was basically ran as if it was like a private company, even though it was nationalized, and the elites kind of used it for their own interest.
Right. And I mean, essentially, Western companies and, I don't know, rich people invested in PDVSA and the infrastructure in Venezuelan oil and told them, we'll plug you into the world's oil markets. Things were going good. And then the oil markets collapsed. And they were kind of like, well, you still owe us a lot of money. And Chavez was like, I don't fucking think so. This seems like it was a dumb deal to begin with. And that's the main rift right there, is that America still kind of feels ripped off, I think.
I mean, yes, but also just America just wants to be the boss.
They can get. It's our backyard.
Yeah, it's our backyard.
That's also a crazy thing to say. Your country is our backyard. That means we're the front of the world. You're in the backyard of the world.
It means you're a piece of property.
Yeah, that too.
Essentially.
All right, in 2002, from December 2002 to February 2003, so a few months, there was a PDVSA lockout, which was categorized or played off in Western media as a workers' strike. It was not a workers' strike. It was a corporate shutdown led by executives that were furious that Chavez had broken the old arrangement where PDVSA operated as an autonomous elite technocracy aligned with U.S. interests, which is what you were just saying. Who's Luis?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, what happened here was this lockout was orchestrated by the ruling class and by some of the management higher ups within PDVSA. Mm-hmm. So there's technicians and managers sabotage refineries. They crashed the digital control systems. They dumped crude and froze shipping operations. Production collapsed from 3 million barrels a day to under 200,000, a 94% drop. Loyal workers slept inside facilities to keep minimum operations running. The goal was simple: economic regime change, Having failed through the coup, elites attempted to starve the government of revenue and provoke social collapse to topple Chávez. Chávez responded by firing 18,000 PDVSA managers and engineers and rebuilding the company from the ground up, transforming it from an oligarch-run fiefdom into a state institution aligned with national policies and programs.
Silver lining. So the technicians and the managers tried to sabotage shit, and then the regular ass workers, some of them slept inside the facility just to keep the shit running. That's wild.
Right. Yeah. And actually my partner, her dad actually worked for not directly for PDVSA. There was a company called AIT that handled a lot of the digital stuff. Okay. Like computers and some of the equipment I think was controlled like digitally. And this was a Texas base. There was a company called Intesa, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but
That's
basically
it. Nailed it.
It was like 60% owned by another company called SAIC.
Okay.
And they were based in Texas. They own
so a Texas company owns 60% of AIT.
Yeah,
in Venezuela.
Yeah, actually, let me make sure I get this right. So AIT was the Atlantic International Technology, was a Texas-based oil services and IT consulting company that became deeply embedded in PDVSA's operational infrastructure during the 1990s and early 2000s.
Okay.
It played a major role in PDVSA's digital architecture.
And Texans can sniff oil.
All right. So what ended up happening is they started messing up the digital system. People got locked out of stuff. Some of the equipment for oil production was controlled digitally. Like they had these valves that controlled like how the oil was extracted, and you would, instead of it, if you hit on, it would go off. They they were messing up
that type of sabotage.
Yeah, they were really sabotaging it. So
hold on, he worked for that company.
So yeah, he worked for the AIT company.
He saw some of that shit happening.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, he remembers it. He was there.
That's crazy.
In fact, there is a video clip online where he's like sitting at the table, because they interviewed a couple minutes later, after the strike and stuff was kind of over. One of the news channels there went and interviewed some of the workers who had been working there, and he's on the video.
Oh fuck yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's real cool.
But well, something else that's kind of funny is he was telling me that his daughter-in-law, my partner's brother, my partner's brother's wife.
Okay.
Her dad worked for PDVSA, and he was like some finance guy.
Okay.
He was one of the people who was on the strike, who agreed to leave or whatever, and wouldn't come back to work. So what happened was, and funny story.
What did he say?
So my partner's brother, he's like a Chavista. He likes Chavez, and she doesn't. She hates Chavez.
His wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is funny.
Okay.
Because her dad ended up getting fired because he was on the strike. So what ended up happening is Chavez was like, we need you guys to come back to work.
Yeah.
Basically what happened was, like, before they went on strike, they had just won like some contract and got a big bonus. They call it like utilities. So they were like, they had money to go on strike, basically. And so they went on strike, and then Chavez comes in and is like, yo, I need you guys to come back to work. And he does like 4 or 5 calls. Like, these are like, he does it once a month or something like that.
Guys.
Like a national call. Like,
for real, we need this.
Come back. He does that like 4 or 5 times. And basically the last time he was like, all right, I'm going to fire you guys.
I'm a Reagan air traffic controller, you guys, right now.
No doubt. And basically he ended up firing my partner's sister-in-law's dad.
That's wild. And so hold on. So the managers and the technicians, they were doing this because what? They were afraid that...
So...
How did they get bought into this shit?
Well, there was the people who did the hard labor, and there was the people who were like running the company, you know, per se, you know, doing the finances and all that, and we're making more of the money, right?
So I'm assuming because the money was going to be redirected towards subsidies for the people, those technicians and engineers were going to be making less than what they would pay from Western companies who are like, let's milk as much as we can.
And I'm not even sure if it was clear at that point, but they just didn't like, because we got to remember, for decades, they had been operating with like just complete autonomy. Basically, they were doing whatever they want. Okay. And even the profits that they were making, they weren't even transparent about the profits that were being made.
Okay, so there's probably some corruption.
Absolutely some corruption.
Gotcha.
And so Chavez is like, I need to know what's going on at PDVSA. This is a state-owned oil company. I know you guys have been running it like it's not for,
but like technically it is. So let me see the books.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were like, nah, we're not doing that. So
I gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's fucking really wild. So one of the, blowbacks to that is that this radicalized thousands of the workers, people in the communities, it deepened the communal structures, later became pillars of the Chavismo, and strengthening popular commitment to defending the revolution. This radicalized a lot of people. So their attempted coup radicalized people. The sabotage radicalized people. You can start to see why most people in Venezuela are very distrusting of the West.
For sure.
And when we say in our propaganda, everyone in Venezuela, almost like Iran, everyone in Venezuela hates fucking Maduro. Do they? Do they? Or do they have the same fucking, this history that they're thinking about?
We had another clip.
Yeah, I'm about to play this clip, and then we're going to take a break. All right. This is also from Jorge Martin. That's his name?
Yeah, the NASCAR driver.
The Spanish Grand Prix driver. Here we go.
So in December 2002, the same year, December 2002, they organized another attempt. This attempt consisted in a whole number of military officers declaring themselves in rebellion. They went into the Altamira Square in the east of Caracas. And then, most importantly, the high command, the executive directors of PDVSA and all the high-ranking technicians, engineers, and so on, they declared themselves on strike. This was, let's be clear, a bosses' strike, a lockout, a reactionary lockout against the economy. And the idea was, we want to bring PDVSA, the oil company, to a standstill, and this will wreck the government. This will break the back of the government. The economy cannot work without the oil industry. And what happened? This lockout went on for about 2 months, nearly 3 months. It started on the 4th of December 2002, and then lasted until February 2003. And what happened in the meantime was the following. The masses came out on the streets again through self-organization. They surrounded the oil installations, the filling stations, the oil refineries, the oil wells, everything. And with the collaboration of some loyal workers from the industry and some workers who had been sacked from the industry for political reasons, they came back. The workers and the workers' control, the workers of PDVSA, re-established production in the oil industry. We are not talking about a small textile factory in Argentina or something like this, and the works of 200 workers. No, we're talking about an industry that at that time employed about 20,000 people, is a very advanced, technologically advanced satellite systems, computerized systems. The workers were running this mammoth of a company for 2 months under workers' control. There was a point, there's so many anecdotes that illustrate this. I don't have the time to give them all, but there was one point at which the Minister of Oil called the workers in this installation, the cryogenic plant at Jose. This is the place where they take gas and they pressurize it and they put it on oil tankers, LNG. The oil minister called these workers that were running this installation. They said, "What do you need? Right? You've done a very good job. How can we help you?" And these oil workers said, Well, I mean, we're running this. There's not much we can eat. Can you send us some managers? This is the only thing that we don't have. The workers were running this and the workers control. They were not fully conscious of what they had done. They didn't need managers. That was the whole point. They were running it and the workers control. The managers were completely redundant.
That's the best argument for socialism I've ever heard.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Why the fuck we really need that? I mean, shit, we could use a couple managers, but like, they've been gone. We've been running it without them. Turns out that's not how strikes work. Only we can strike, and then shit shuts down. You fucking idiots. Yeah, what y'all are doing is sabotage. That's crazy. Yeah. Any comments you want to make on that before we take a quick break?
No, I mean, just that was this was early on, and also, just an anecdote. When I was talking to my girl's dad,
more anecdotes
is he was talking about how like they were very supportive of Chavez. Like the people were very supportive of Chavez, especially obviously the people who got him elected. Mm-hmm. And they were. You got to keep in mind this is the state-owned oil company. It's responsible for most of the country's, energy and what have you. So
all of the subsidies, all of the literacy programs were tied to this.
Yes, that and well, this was actually before that actually really got rolling because remember he's trying to take
You're right,
control.
That was 2005.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
But they were telling him like keep going, like basically like don't cave in to these people. Mm-hmm. And there was something I forgot what he called it. There's I think I had to note it somewhere, but it's a thing where they would go out at night and like they'd bang on like pots and pans or whatever, and it basically was to show support for Chavez and tell him like don't give up, don't cave. Basically, they were saying like we'll they call it here it is cacerolazos, something like that. But basically, they were saying like things like we'll burn our furniture, we'll like to for cooking and
as far
heat.
As
like if we
can,
we'll manage.
Yeah, we'll suffer right now.
Right,
keep fighting,
basically. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty dope. And he says
really
he remembers that happening. But yeah,
see, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, who's the good guys and who's the baddies? All right, let's take a quick break. And we're back. Like we had never left. So we can already tell it's probably going to be a 2-part episode, but we're going to keep right on going. And we're talking now about the period from 2003 to 2012, which is the new social contract under Chavez. How long was Chavez in power? Do you remember off top?
Yeah. Well, he was elected in
98.
98. He died in 2013.
Okay. So this is 2003 to 2012. We'll start with another quote from Uruguayan historian Eduardo Galeano. The big bankers of the world practice what they call the free market, while their victims practice what we call free fall. Damn. This guy's a poet. Bars. Yeah. Free market for who? And then I'm going to go through these missions. So, Mission Robinson, which is definitely a Spanish word. Mission Robinson taught over 1.5 million adults how to read and write, leading to UNESCO to declare Venezuela illiteracy free, which is wild, a major international achievement that Western media virtually ignored. There was Mission Barrio Adentro, implemented with more than 10,000 Cuban doctors. Oh yeah, I remember this whenever Venezuela did some trade with them for like some oil. Mm-hmm. And then Cuba sent over 10,000 doctors because they had a surplus of doctors because they're smart. Built clinics in the poorest neighborhoods, transformed healthcare access, slashing child mortality, and providing primary care to millions who had never seen a doctor before. Mission Marcal created a network of subsidized food markets reaching over 14 million people, stabilizing nutrition and food access after decades of neoliberal austerity, which just had inequality and poor people starving. Mission Sucre democratized higher education by expanding free university access to Afro-Venezuelan.
Shout out to my Afro-Venezuelans.
Hell yeah. indigenous and working class students. Shout out to my working class students. College enrollment doubled permanently, altering social mobility. Yeah, social ladder, baby. That's the real American dream, South American dream. Venezuela received recognition from the FAO. What's FAO?
It's, I think, the Food and Agricultural Organization.
All right.
Yeah.
For achieving one of the most significant hunger reduction programs in the developing world, contradicting narratives that the country was collapsing even before the sanctions that made it much more difficult to do all of these things. So it sounded like things are doing pretty well, or going pretty well.
Yeah, and during this period, the United States is basically calling Hugo Chávez a dictator, this whole time while he's, lifting people out of poverty, educating people, making sure people can get health care, people who've never had access to health care, people who can't read. I mean,
never seen a doctor before.
It's really amazing what they did in a short period of time when they used those oil profits for the betterment of their people. And
facts.
We didn't like that. And we're calling him a dictator while he was doing these programs.
Yeah. And I remember, I can't remember where the document is right now, but I looked into it a little bit as far as elections in Venezuela. And even from these international organizations that I don't trust, but in the West, the first election with Hugo Chávez was free, fair, clean election. As far as, I think Chávez invited international election watchers for the first time to come, just make sure. So
yeah, one of the organizations was actually Jimmy Carter's election monitoring
I remember
organization.
That.
Yeah.
So for us to be like, he's a fucking dictator is wild. So anyways, so let's go. You want to go back to Jorge Martin one more time?
Yeah, let's hit him.
All right.
By 2006, 2007, they implemented what they call the Misiones, the social programs. And there was one called Barrio, Adentro, where they brought primary health care to the working class neighborhoods, where Venezuelan doctors didn't even want to go. And they had to bring Cuban doctors. But they set up primary health care centers in the poorest areas up in the hills around Caracas. They had the Mission Robinson, which abolished illiteracy. There was an old woman. There was an old woman of 90 was interviewed on the telly. She just learned how to read and write for the first time in her life. And they asked her, "What do you want to do next?" She said, "Well, I want to go to university." This is it. This is how the people's expectations were lifted by this revolution. They had another one called Misión Milagro, Miracle Mission, where hundreds of thousands of people were operated of cataracts, so they could now see when previously they couldn't see. The material gains of the revolution were massive. There was a massive program of agrarian reform, factory occupations, and so on. However,
I don't know why I cut it right there where he said, however. Yeah, man. Now we just got Mr. Beast. He'll come over and he'll cure your cataracts for you, and you're welcome.
Yeah, another anecdote, and I'm probably going to mess this one up because I don't remember it. But
fuck it.
I was talking to my girl's pops, and I think it's his brother who got cataract surgery due to this program.
Really?
Yeah, and he was also didn't like Chavez or Maduro or both of them. I can't remember which one.
So he got the surgery because of the program. So he sounds like hands off my Medicare type person in America.
Yeah, definitely. So I thought that was funny.
That is interesting. Yeah, we got crazy, ignorant right-wingers everywhere.
Yeah, but I also wanted to mention my partner remembers all this too. If she listens to this,
she better.
She's gonna be like, "Why didn't you mention me?" Yeah, she's corroborated all these things too.
Okay,
but her pop still is in Venezuela, so
shout out him.
Yeah.
Tell us about Alba.
All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about sort of the regional integration that Venezuela was really at the head of, really spearheaded a lot of this. But so in 2004, Chavez and Fidel Castro founded ALBA, the first regional bloc explicitly built on anti-imperialist socialist principles. ALBA rejected IMF conditionalities and emphasized cooperation, social development, and non-market exchanges. Healthcare for oil, doctors for fuel, literacy missions for agricultural support. Petro Caribe in 2005 extended subsidized Venezuela oil to 14 to 18 Caribbean nations, allowing small islands states to escape IMF austerity and invest in education, healthcare, infrastructure, etc., instead of draining budgets to repay debt. And Haiti was one of those countries.
Do you know what ALBA means or stands for?
No, not off the top of my head.
Bolivarian Alliance. So there you go.
What's the A?
I mean, this is Spanish.
Yeah.
There's words that
I
moved around.
know it's backwards.
Yeah.
I feel like we're missing a word though.
I feel like we're missing 2 words.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I looked it up and forgot it. But so Petro Caribe transformed the Caribbean's energy landscape. States like Haiti, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, or Dominica. That's just Dominica, I guess.
Oh, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America.
There we go.
My bad. America.
I know there was more.
Yeah.
These countries gained unprecedented independence from U.S. energy markets, and this shifted the OAS voting patterns and gave smaller nations diplomatic breathing room. And that's the Organization of American States.
Okay.
UNISAR, 2008, became the first South American defense and political alliance capable of mediating regional crises, such as Bolivia in 2008, without U.S. involvement. For the first time in modern history, South America could manage its own disputes. CELAC, which was founded in 2011, united all 33 Latin American and Caribbean nations while excluding the United States and Canada, symbolizing a major rejection of the Monroe Doctrine oversight and marking the most ambitious regional integration project in the hemisphere since Bolivar.
So we're going to unite everyone except the people that said this is the backyard.
Absolutely.
You guys are our backyard. Your CELAC's backyard. I don't know if you know about this. Your CELAC's hat.
Yeah, so this was obviously the U.S. didn't like these developments because they were, being cut out. Essentially, their influence was waning in the region,
right?
And the countries like Cuba and Venezuela and others were leading the way on this.
For sure. So from this point, we're gonna move on to the Obama years. My favorite president, Pretty Bad's favorite president.
Ooh,
Can we get a
man.
third term? Can we get boo that man? And I'm gonna start this with a quote by Vijay Prashad. The Darker Nations. That's the book he wrote, right?
Yeah,
one of the books.
Yeah, he's written a lot of books.
This is a really good book. Quote: "Sanctions are war by other means." Sanctions are that. I don't know if everybody knows what sanctions are. But it's essentially economic lockdowns on who you can make trades with and how much and whatever.
And just before you get into it, but I wanted to mention that sanctions, because I don't think I have it noted here. I can't remember if I noted it, but sanctions are illegal under international law. Unilateral sanctions are. They're supposed to be passed through the UN Security Council, is my understanding.
Interesting. So I've heard of unilateral sanctions. I didn't know that meant it wasn't passed through the UN Security Council.
Right.
Okay.
So these they call them like unilateral coercive measures, and they're illegal under international law. So there you go.
So there we go. Arrest Trump.
And Obama.
Definitely Obama. Despite campaigning as a reformer, I don't even like that word, Obama significantly escalated U.S. pressure on Venezuela, beginning as early as 2009 with expanded NED/USAID funding for opposition organizations and early financial restrictions targeting state institutions. This is why when Trump got rid of USAID, we were like, cool, fuck USAID. by 2014, after the Garambas, okay, this is what I was talking about. So this actually was a tactic created by the CIA and anti-Chavista forces, where we were supporting them in 2014. We tried to get them to, riot, maybe do another coup. The Garambas, the tactic is, let's see. Do you have it?
Yeah, I mean, they do a bunch of shit. I don't know if it was necessarily created by the CIA, but basically they would use barricades, they'd burn stuff in the street, Molotov cocktails, they'd block highways, they'd do all kind of stuff, just basically to make it hard for the country to function.
Shut down major traffic routes, transportation routes. Kind of. It's there's a document, actually I think I downloaded it, that the U.S. gave to the French after they were occupied by the Nazis, and it was like, hey, here's a bunch of little subtle ways you can sabotage the economy. And it was down to like, if you're a grocery store clerk, scan the items really slow. So like, so when I said the CIA created Garambas, I don't mean that. I mean they created this sabotage shit. This whole idea of like, we're going to just fuck up the economy by not only, sanctions. We're going to get our people that are, I guess, how big is this anti-Chavista movement in 2014?
I mean, it's been significant for the entire time. I mean,
like you said, with the anecdotal evidence.
Right.
All right. And then March 2015, Obama issued Executive Order 13692. Designating Venezuela an extraordinary and unusual threat. What? An extraordinary and unusual threat to the national security of the United States. That's wild. This unprecedented declaration created the legal scaffolding for the sweeping sanctions, Trump and Biden later expanded. I would like to read that executive order because I wonder what the justification was. Extraordinary and unusual threat is just a weird definition.
There is no justification. They made it up. It's like that Believe It or Not clip. He made it up. It's not real.
I love that. Believe it or not. All right. Around the same period, Juan Guaido emerged inside U.S.-funded opposition networks, while little known domestically, he was cultivated through programs backed by the NED, what is that? Is that another USAID type organization?
Yeah, the it just left me. In the National Endowment for Democracy, something like that. That
sounds terrible. Yeah. NED, USAID, and US-aligned NGOs, nonprofits, long before Trump elevated him in 2019. So this guy's like a business guy that wasn't even very much known in Venezuela before the U.S. In our tentacles made him popular. The Obama Treasury quietly began cutting Venezuela off from U.S. financial systems, complicating PDVSA's ability to refinance their debt, purchase crucial equipment, or maintain infrastructure. These were precursor sanctions, an early form of financial isolation carefully timed as Venezuela's economy weakened. They knew this was the biggest thing for Venezuela's economy, so let's go ahead and try to put some pressure on it while their economy is weak. Chavez died in March 2013. Rest in peace, rest in power, King. And Maduro narrowly won the subsequent election. I didn't realize he won right after Chavez. Inheriting an economy already under strain, Chavez had warned that the revolution's greatest tests would come after his death, and they arrived immediately. He was right. Between 2014 and 2016, a historic global oil price crash sent crude prices from over $100 a barrel to under $30 a barrel. Landman would not like that, wiping out 96% of Venezuela's foreign exchange earnings. This was a catastrophic shock for a country dependent on oil to fund import, social programs, and stabilize their own currency. So thanks, Obama. Thumbs up. Killed it, bro.
No doubt. And, I just wanted to highlight that, there's evidence that this was coordinated, that the Obama administration had put pressure on Saudi Arabia at the time to increase its oil production
I saw that, to lower the price.
Yeah, to crash the price of oil, and that this would hurt countries like Venezuela, but also Iran and Russia. You know, you got to remember this is at the same time where they're trying to negotiate
They had the Iran nuclear negotiations going on.
Yes, the JCPOA, and this is around the same time that Russia annexes Crimea, and they put the first round of sanctions on Russia. So the thought was like this is going to make it difficult for U.S. geopolitical adversaries, essentially. So.
And from what I read, part of the deal was John Kerry went and met directly with King Abdullah in Riyadh, and part of our side of the deal was supporting who the Saudis wanted supported in the Syrian conflict, which Ben Norton called them Contras, which I think he just used Contras as like counter-revolutionaries. I don't remember who we liked. I remember John McCain talking about a lot about Syria. Like, is there certain people we need to support? I'm assuming that's who that was.
Yeah, I mean,
who the Saudis wanted us to support.
The Saudis just wanted to get rid of Assad, and so they were backing all kind of people. They had I mean, we were backing Al Qaeda to a certain extent. That was Operation.
I mean, the president of Syria right now is former Al Qaeda general fighter. I don't remember.
Yeah, he was part of Al Nusra, which was like an Al Qaeda spinoff. But yeah, so there was Operation Timber Sycamore, which Obama started, and a lot of that money went to training these militants, and a lot of these people were associated with Al Qaeda or Al Qaeda adjacent groups, and the Saudis were backing these people as well. These like Salafi jihadists type people. So yeah.
So again, like the Chomsky quote, we spread democracy when it's strategic or economically beneficial to us, and the strategic economic benefit in this instance, outside of, I don't know, just getting American companies involved in Syria, would be, hey, Saudi Arabia, could you flood the market with oil real quick to hurt our adversaries?
Yeah, for sure.
That's crazy.
So it's just important to understand that, like, this wasn't like, socialism's failed. Look at, no, this is conspiring to crash commodity prices globally, sanctioning the country. This is socialism was working. You tried to do a coup. You tried to do what did you call the manager strike? A shutdown. Right.
So sabotage. You tried to tank the market for the number one thing that this country needs, and then you're going to be like, well, they're poor because of socialism. Obviously, they need some democracy.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Pretty good plan. Things working. People are stupid.
Unfortunately. All right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about a little bit more about these sanctions and why they were so devastating. I think it's important to understand that Venezuela's oil is overwhelmingly heavy crude, which requires...
What is heavy crude?
It's just dirty oil. But it requires imported dilutants like naphtha, specialized chemicals, and highly technical upgrading equipment before it can even be transported or refined. And so for decades, Venezuela relied on U.S.-based technology and supply chains.
U.S. processed it.
Yes. And then I did want to mention also the sanctions blocked PDVSA from importing these dilutants. Oil literally became too thick to move through pipelines. Even Venezuela pumped crude. Even if they pumped the crude, it couldn't transport or refine it. Sanctions targeted the choke points most essential to production. Much of Venezuela's refinery and upgrading infrastructure had been originally manufactured by U.S. companies. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but I think their oil production actually dropped by like literally 99%, I think was the number that I remember.
I remember an outstanding number. I can't remember if it's 99, but yeah. And so like, even if they wanted to do it themselves, we put sanctions on them that stopped them from getting the shit that they needed to do it themselves. because we wanted them to be reliant on us. Or the other country that I read that processes their oil is China, which turned out to be maybe not such a great idea for the U.S. because Venezuela and China is making some pretty good relations right now. But regardless,
yes,
it's fucked up. They wanted to do it themselves, and we won't let them.
No. And I thought I had a note here, but I don't. But we also confiscated their gold reserves as well. The Bank of London, I think, confiscated them. And so that made it very difficult for them to stabilize their currency. So this caused inflation issues, etc. So, again, just complete economic sabotage by the West.
Yes. But socialism doesn't work. Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else? Secondary sanctions. Even non-U.S. companies avoided dealing with Venezuela for fear of secondary sanctions. Oh, yeah. Sometimes we use sanctions on other countries to get them to stop dealing with other countries. So it's like a fucking behind-the-back sanction.
Right.
It's fucked up. But yeah, all right. I feel like this is a pretty good stopping point. We're about to get into Trump's first term in modern day. What's going on right now? Yeah, we're almost at an hour and a half. Is there anything else you want to add to this point of the Venezuela 2-part pod?
No, that's a pretty good point to stop at. Like you said, we're gonna get into Trump next episode, and this is gonna take us through the current events to what's
going on right now. Yeah. Of course, the military buildup, the drug boat strikes, Colombia's president. There's a lot to talk about.
For sure.
All right.
For sure.
Well, power to the people. Hopefully Venezuela is still not invaded next time we have this, or by the time we have the next episode. Yeah. I don't know why I end this on a downer.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Let's go Maduro. Bolivarian revolutions. All right. Peace out.
Later.
There's no way to be committed to nonviolence in the middle of the most violent society that history's ever created. I'm not committed to nonviolence in any way.
The Republican Party and the Democratic Party are beholden to the interests of monopoly capitalism in this country.
The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the flax, the hemp, the cocoa, the rum, the tin, the cotton, the iron, the rubber, the bauxite, the slaves, and the cheap labor. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped, they're overexploited.
Liberals are, at times, allies. At times, they're unreliable allies. So I don't want to just whitewash them. You've got to proceed quite cautiously with liberals.
The man or woman who knows the least about communism is the man or woman who wants to know the least about communism. That is to say, snakes are my enemies. They come to bite me, and I don't even want to know what they look like.
What's happening here for the last 4 years? Brutality, humiliation, our basic human rights taken away from us. All of this has to continue through talking. So what? We take their offer and put their uniform on. This last 4 years meant nothing. We could do that, no.